Alistair Scott.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, for the opportunity to talk on this Budget Policy Statement 2015. It's quite an advantage speaking at this point, I think, because you have the advantage of listening to others and being able to reflect on some of those points that were made. And I was interested to hear Mr Robertson speak earlier of our complacency apparently on this side of the House, lacking ideas. But then a couple of breaths later, he was talking about him and his team beginning to plan and develop their own policies, as if they didn't have any in the first place. And I've seen in the newspaper what their policies are as they develop.
Go to the website. Some
of them being Maori sovereignty, which some of them don't agree with. Some of them being to support Winston Peters when others disagree with that. So there is an advantage in speaking later to reflect on some of the and xenophobic comments made from the New Zealand First, but I'll come back. I'll come back to that.
Name it.
Fairly shortly. Your register, Tracy. Let me respond. There's a bit of a health and safety issue going on here, Speaker. I've got a high-pitched noise in my ear.
Order.
Listen,
Order.
Tracy.
I know there are rules about constant interjection, but I think if the member complains about high-pitched noises, he should note that it's coming both from that side and his left. Mrs. Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, for me, this whole budget is around confidence. Confidence in the economy. If we don't have confidence, we have nothing. And I'd like to refer you to a study, a recent ANZ study, Business Outlook study, which says 34% of firms are optimistic about the general economy. That's up from 30%. And why do we have confidence, Mr. Speaker? Well, because we have the correct policies, the correct structure in place.
That's right.
We have policies that are about lowering personal tax rates, interest rates are lower for longer, and that's created, as a result of that, 80,000 new jobs. And when you've got 80,000 new jobs being created, it's like a spinning wheel. It starts spinning. You gain confidence. Small businesses gain further confidence to employ more people. And that's what's happening, sir, because unemployment, we know, has fallen from 5.7 and is due to fall to 4.5%. And I'll give you an example of, in my electorate of the Wairarapa, sir. In the forestry industry, we've got contractors looking for workers. They can't find them, sir. They can't find them. They're wanting, I've got a guy who works for Forest Enterprises Limited, contracts to them, and he wants to bring in more immigrant workers because there are no available skilled workers in the economy. Why? Because there's demand. There's demand for labour, and that's called a market, and that eventually drives wages up, and eventually this guy is going to start. That's the way it works, sir, and that's what drives unemployment down. So this confidence has enabled this guy to look for more employees. He's charging the contractors, the guys who are paying him, more to do the work, so the whole community is better off as a result of him having confidence in the economy. Some of the other things that are supporting the rural economy is the UFB rollouts. They continue to roll out, and as we know, 75% of the population is being targeted to receive UFB, and I'm pleased to say that Dannevirke and Carterton are two targeted towns in my electorate which will soon to receive UFB, having already received it in Masterton. Confidence, sir, is going to be the key of my short address. In the recent 5-year MYOB Business Monitor report, New Zealand's small and medium-sized business are showing the highest revenue growth in more than 5 years. Again, confidence. Now, what else is being demonstrated? We're seeing people coming back We're seeing people coming back from Australia. We're seeing less New Zealanders leaving to go to Australia. So in the 4-year period ending 08, almost 110,000 people net left to go to Australia. That's a lot of people. That's 3 Westpac Trust stadiums, approximately, queuing up to take opportunity to better themselves in Australia. In the 2014 calendar year, there is a handful, there was 8,000, a mere 8,000 people did the same trip. That's because there's confidence in the economy, there's real hope, there's real aspiration amongst our communities, whether it's in Auckland or Christchurch, or whether it's in Masterton, Carterton or Waipukurau. And let's talk about Waipukurau. Waipukurau is feeling good because they're going to, with any sort of luck, given RMA, we will be building, with the help of a $400 million fund, an irrigation project. Again, that brings confidence. People are already training up, getting their heavy truck drivers' licences, getting trained to take part in that expansion, where there will be 30,000 hectares of of land which will increase in productivity. That creates jobs, that enables seeds, potatoes, sheep, beef to be grown and then processed in the nearby towns of Hastings and Napier and exported to contribute to the growing export dollar value that is taking place right here, right now. What does not help is the xenophobic policies espoused by New Zealand First, and Tracy asked to demonstrate that with her register. Tracy Martin demonstrated that earlier by asking specifically what xenophobic policies New Zealand First had, and the register is just that. The register of foreign owners is absolutely xenophobic. And I'll tell you the problem. I'll give you an example. What happens when anyone from overseas buys shares that I own perhaps on the New Zealand Stock Exchange? Let's say I own 100 shares and I sell them to the foreigner. And I go with that money and buy my house in Auckland. Now, am I going to be registered as a foreign owner of a house in Auckland? So you can see the complication and the regulatory layers that this party is willing to impose on the New Zealand public. Doesn't make any sense at all. Sir, another example of confidence is that the labour market statistics show the self-employed businesses grew by nearly 35,000 small businesses in the last calendar year. We've got 3.5%, really? 3.5% growth, and that only gives more confidence to more people to get involved in this economy. What puts people off, sir, is further bureaucracy, and we've got Rules Reduction Task Force running around New Zealand at the moment, talking to communities, councils particularly, looking for ideas on how to reduce compliance and bureaucracy. The IRD today said in Select Committee they are also going out to community and surveying and communicating with those people, asking them for ideas on how to reduce compliance issues around tax. And an example given was if you've got GST, if you've got a nil GST return, now you can do a couple of clicks and you are done. That sort of simple and ease of use projects across the Rules Reduction Task Force and the IRD can only allow more people to work and focus on their business. So this government is certainly focusing on ways to make businesses, small businesses, easy to do business. What will make it really, really tricky for small businesses, sir, is a capital gains tax, which I'm not sure is still a Labor policy or not. I'm not sure if they've decided whether it is or not, but we will hear in due course. Thank you for the opportunity, sir.
Well done.
Crikey, that's a low bar.
Jan Logie.
Rapturous applause after that. Thank you, Mr.